Donald Trump heads home from the hospital, and the appropriate people cheer, and the appropriate people jeer. Jennifer Rubin has a very, very, very awful take talking about what's happening with President Trump over there, so we'll talk a bit about that. Ohio Secretary of State rules that Ohio can put up multiple drop boxes in various polling locations, so we'll talk a bit about that. And Amy Coney Barrett's nomination is going forward. The hearings are going to start, and we have a date. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Tuesday morning. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to today, and it's always fun to start out with all of this when I look back and I find out the fact that I've still got autoplay coming from my streaming software because it autoplayed one of the videos I did for the podcast last night. So we've got that fixed and ready to go, and we've got a bunch of stuff to get to today as well. But before we get started, head on over to freedomscoop.com. FreedomScoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all of your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Generational Gap, The Freckles and Brit Show, who just started doing their streams live, so go and check them out over there. Otherwise, they will still be dropping Tuesday morning on their regular episodes. We also carry The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, and The R-Rated Conservative. So come on over, check us out, pick up some of our swag, and help us support great creators. All right. Excuse me. The Dow had a good day yesterday, actually a really good day yesterday. Looking up at the chart there, we started off high in the futures, and we got up pretty high in the 148 was where we ended off with. So 465 points up, 1% up through the day. It was a almost 2% up through the day. That was a pretty good day off of that, but we're getting a little bit more certainty, especially with the president coming home, and that's one of the things that the investors have pointed out is we saw a lot of rise as everybody saw that the president's health condition was getting better. So let's see what's coming up with that here, starting with Investors Business Daily today. I don't have live chat up here. There we go. Now I have a live chat up here. From IBD, Dow Jones futures rise despite big tech breakup stock market rally. President Trump recover quickly. From Ed Carson, and one of the least grammatically correct headlines I've read so far. Usually they start making the grammatical errors down in the article itself. All right, from Ed Carson, Dow Jones futures turned higher early Tuesday while S&P 500 futures and NASDAQ futures fell modestly after President Trump returned to the White House. A lawmaker said a House panel wants to break up big tech companies. They've been yelling about that since Barack was in office. I have no faith that they're going to get that done. Nothing. They're just going to keep talking about it forever, and one day people are going to get sick of it and vote their asses out. Well, okay, maybe that's not going to happen, but one day somebody's going to get sick of this shit and vote their asses out. Such as Apple, Amazon, Facebook, and Google parent Alphabet. Coronavirus vaccine and drug news is in play. And you'll notice they want to break up these big tech companies, so they have to force them into going up into smaller companies, most likely owned by the same person or the same groups of people. So I've got this feeling that if we look at this, we're going to come and find out the fact that, hey, this is going to skirt election campaign finance law. So, hey, one company can only donate X amount, but 50 companies owned by the same person can donate the same X amount 50 times. Follow the money, folks. That's usually where you're going to figure out what's going on with the world. Follow the money. Coronavirus vaccine and drug news is also in play. On Monday, the stock market rally closed near session highs as President Trump said he would leave Walter Reed Medical Center after spending 3 days there for coronavirus treatment. Semiconductor stocks were big winners Monday, with Marvell Technology Group breaking out. NVIDIA stock, AMD, Qualcomm, and Taiwan Semiconductor made solid gains and arguably are all actionable. NVIDIA touted chip advances at its GPU technology conference. Meanwhile, Apple stock, Facebook, and Amazon reclaimed their 50-day moving averages, while Microsoft rallied to just short of the line. Google still has a ways to go to return to its 50-day. President Trump left Walter Reed Medical Center on Monday after a 3-day stay, returning to the White House where he will continue to get coronavirus treatment. Just before leaving, Trump tweeted that he'll be back in the campaign trail soon. President Trump tweeted Monday afternoon that he would leave Walter Reed, saying, "Feeling really good. Don't be afraid of COVID." The Trump Hospital news pushed the major indices even higher to close near session highs. On Friday, the NASDAQ led Friday's retreat on the news that President Trump had tested positive for the coronavirus. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and S&P 500 index moved above last week's highs, with the NASDAQ composite stopping just short. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ reclaimed their 50-day moving averages. NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Taiwan Semiconductor are on the IBD leaderboard. Apple joined IBD swing trader on Monday. Microsoft stock is on IBD long-term leaders, and AMD stock, Qualcomm, NVIDIA, Marvell, Taiwan Semiconductor, and Microsoft are all on the IBD 50 list. For the futures, Dow Jones futures rose 0.3% versus fair value. S&P 500 futures retreated less than 1%, so we had one up and one down. And NASDAQ 100 futures lost 0.4%. Make that one up, two down. Apple, Facebook, and Amazon edged lower, providing a big tech drag on the futures. It's because they said they're going to break them up. And the markets don't like uncertainty. Absolutely not. Remember, pre-market action in Dow Jones futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. And finally, stimulus deal talks are set to continue through today, so they will be out there trying to spend your money. All right, let's see what CNBC has to say on this, and then we'll get into the news. Dow jumps 465 points. With Trump set to leave the hospital, stimulus hope adds to rally from Yoon Lee. U.S. stocks climbed on Monday after President Trump said he will be discharged from the hospital Monday evening, easing concerns about more political uncertainty ahead of Election Day. Investors also grew more hopeful that lawmakers would reach a compromise on a new stimulus deal. Trump's illness, as well as September jobs report, highlighted the urgency for further coronavirus aid after a months-long stalemate in Washington. Where's the money, Lebowski? Which, by the way, and I'm sure you already know this already, I've never seen that movie. That one I haven't even seen bits and pieces of. Show me the money, Lebowski. Excuse me. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed 465.83 points, or 1.7 to 28,148.64. The S&P 500, not the futures, the actual market trading, rose 1.8%, or 60.18 points to 3408.62. While the NASDAQ composite gained 2.3%, or 257.47 points to 11,332.49. Stocks jumped to their session highs after Trump said in an afternoon tweet that he will be leaving Walter Reed National Military Medical Center at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, just 3 days after he entered the hospital to be treated for the coronavirus. So, yeah, we've got a couple things going on with this. I've got one outlier poll that says Joe Biden opened his widest lead in a month in the presidential race, with a 51% poll backing him and 41% saying they would vote for Trump. According to a Reuters Ipsos poll released Sunday from October 2nd to 3rd. So, a couple different things going on with this, but we will see what happens there. Let's get into the news. Starting with the New York Times, a former newspaper. Trump returns home after downplaying disease, but doctor says he isn't out of the woods. Just before entering the White House, the president removed his mask on live TV. His doctor said, a final deep sigh of relief. Wouldn't come for nearly a week. The West Wing outbreak is growing, with the press secretary testing positive. After spending 3 nights at the Walter Reed Medical Center, President Trump returned on Monday evening to the White House, where he will continue to receive treatment for COVID-19. His physician, Dr. Sean P. Conley, had said earlier in the day that the president was not out of the woods yet. Mr. Trump, wearing a mask and a suit, passed through the hospital's large golden doors, paused atop a flight of steps, and pumped his fist a few times at chest level. I don't know, maybe he could have extended his arm with his hand open too. He's going to do stupid shit, I guess, but that's another story for another time. He did not respond to shouted questions from the news media as he walked past unaccompanied. "Thank you very much, everybody," he said with a wave. Mr. Trump then boarded a black SUV that drove him to his presidential helicopter, Marine One, for the short flight to the White House. He offered a thumbs up just before stepping onto the helicopter, which departed just after 6:45 p.m. for the 10-minute flight. After landing on the South Lawn, Mr. Trump ascended a flight of stairs, then turned to face his helicopter and the live television cameras and removed his mask before giving the departing Marine One a long salute. He then turned and walked back to the White House residence without donning his mask. Several masked people, including what appeared to be an official photographer capturing the moment, were inside. The three major networks newscasts on ABC, CBS, and NBC carried it all live. It's the kind of blanket television coverage that Mr. Trump relishes. But after climbing the stairs, Mr. Trump appeared to be short of breath. He's got a respiratory disease that makes people short of breath. What the fuck? I don't understand the New York Times, a former newspaper. At a briefing earlier in the day, Dr. Conley said, "Over the past 24 hours, the president has continued to improve," adding, "He's met or exceeded all standard hospital discharge criteria." The president's doctors evaded some questions about the president's condition, including his lung function and the date of his last negative coronavirus test, before he tested positive. They said that he had received a third dose of the antiviral drug remdesivir, and that he has continued to take dexamethasone, a steroid drug which has been shown to be beneficial to patients who are very sick with COVID-19. "We're looking to the weekend," Dr. Conley said. "If we can get through to Monday with him remaining at the same or improving better yet, then we will all take that final deep sigh of relief." Dr. Conley did not give a firm answer about whether Mr. Trump would be confined to his residence. The West Wing is experiencing a growing outbreak, with Mr. Trump's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, joining the list on Monday of his close aides who have tested positive. So he's coming home. And of course, and this was in the most inane way possible, the New York Times has found a way to make this seem like the worst thing in the world. He's going home. He's going back to the residence that the American people have afforded him to be in. That in spite of everybody else that lives there and all the staff that has to be there, he is still home. Yes, he's going to take his mask off. They didn't need to be in there with the cameras. That's his home. Well, it's the people's home, but until January 21st of 2024, it's looking like at this point, that's going to be his home. For sure until 2021, but possibly till 2020. Did I say 2024? I meant 2025. So we will see what is going on with this, but this is going to be something that I'm sure is going to be going along for quite a long time after this. But my God, no. Just everything they can do to spin this in the worst way possible. This is why nobody trusts the mainstream media. All right, let's keep going here from the Daily Wire. Trump releases new positive video following hospital say, "Don't live in fear," from Ryan Saavedra. I'm living in fear. Ron Helton, come save me. President Donald Trump released a positive video message on Monday evening following his release from Walter Reed Medical Center, telling people not to live in fear of the pandemic. "I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus," Trump said. "And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, the greatest medicines, all developed recently, and you're going to beat it." I want to see if they've got video of this. Yeah, they do. So instead of reading the quotes and doing my Trump impression, let's just listen to the man himself. Ears on. Your ears on. Let's go.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good. And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives. Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led. Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there. Be careful. We have the best medicines in the world, and it all happened very shortly, and they're all getting approved, and the vaccines are coming momentarily. Thank you very much. And Walter Reed, what a group of people. Thank you very much.
The best medicines, the greatest medicines, the best medicine in the world. And yeah, you could tell that was not teleprompter Trump. But, I mean, he's being the cheerleader for the country as well. It is kind of his shtick. So, yeah, we saw some good stuff out of that. And, I mean, good for him that he's doing so well, but my big sticking point with that is the fact that we've come to the point in the country, and I've talked about this numerous times, where we have to remind people that you're not a leader. You work for the people. The people are supposed to lead you, not the other way around. But, hey, if that's what he has to do to tell his followers to get out there and not be afraid, then I'll take a little bit of misguided civics knowledge over letting everybody sit in their home and cower in fear like this, scared to death because they might die. So, absolutely. We read this from Conley, but let's go grab... No, this is a little bit extended, so let's grab this one here. Conley says he's met or exceeded all standard hospital discharge criteria. He'll receive another dose of remdesivir here today, and then we plan to get him home. It's been more than 72 hours since his last fever. Oxygen levels, including ambulatory saturations, and his breathing are normal. Though he may not be entirely out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly his clinical status, support the president's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7. So, yep, he's going home. He's got a good speech. He's trying to get the people out there cheering, and that really, I mean, this really flies in the face of the mainstream news' allegation that as soon as you hear the words, you have coronavirus, the closest phone sitting next to you rings and you hear a whispered voice on the other side that says, 7 days. So, that's what we'll see off of this. Let's keep going here. Come on, where's my cursor? There it is. From RT, question more. Defund hospitals. WAPO blogger lambasted over call to cut funding for Walter Reed Medical Center after Trump discharged. Washington Post blogger Jennifer Rubin was taken to the woodshed online. Wow. Wow. Even I'm offended by that. After labeling Walter Reed Medical Center a public health hazard and calling for its budget to be slashed, following Donald Trump's brief stay there, the self-ordained never-Trump pro-democracy opinionator took calls to defund public institutions to another level on Monday, urging Congress to slash Walter Reed's budget for reasons left unstated, presumably something to do with the president, who was discharged from the medical center later that day after spending the weekend there to be treated for COVID-19. Congress might want to defund Walter Reed. It's a public health hazard. Thank you, Jennifer Rubin. While she provided no explanation for her jab at the hospital in the tweet, a flurry of previous posts slammed the doctor's decision to allow the president to leave the facility with a deadly communicable disease. Netizens quickly piled on the missive, some reminding the hawkish columnist that Walter Reed provides care to all soldiers you spent years working so hard to send overseas to lose their lives and limbs, not only the president. Thank you, Comfortably Smug. We've read his stuff over on my show before. Usually it's when he has the worst take possible, but we've read his stuff over here before. Funny Libertarian says she supported the wars that sent so many wounded vets there, and now she wants to defund it. J. Rubin Blogger is the worst kind of human. Ryan Spader, does that mean my buds will have to give back their prosthetic legs? Ro Khanna says one of the most moving experiences I had as a member of the Armed Services Committee was visiting Walter Reed. They do inspiring work in helping soldiers with prosthetics, serious trauma, and brain and spinal cord injuries. The staff there have had my utmost admiration and respect. Big Dave says, to be clear, you wanted to fund a hospital that takes care of our veterans? Yeah, that's a solid take. Chris Hughes says, great idea. The DNC should do some ads quick before about how they want to defund a hospital that treats military personnel. It'll be a great look for voters. And Tim Young, that's the last one I'm going to read off of this, says Jennifer Rubin wants sick and injured military members to get no medical care. Got it. I wonder if Jennifer Rubin's account is locked down or not. I don't know. We'll have to go. Should we go see? I bet she locked it down. Maybe she didn't. Let's go see. We've got the Twitter up there for the Twitter trending. Let's go have a look. Jennifer Rubin. No, it's not locked down. I hope she gets lambasted for that, especially if she's going to leave her account open. So yes, that's what Jennifer Rubin had to say about that here. Let's move on from the Daily Mail. An act of karma. Maryland school board member forced to quit after Facebook post wishing Trump would die of COVID. Yeah, they're classy, folks. By Joe Davies for Mail Online. A Washington school board member who wrote that she hoped President Donald Trump would die after his positive coronavirus test has resigned. Jacqueline Fisher from Clear Spring, Maryland, shared multiple posts criticizing the president on her social media last week. The board said it would be accepting her resignation. Its public business meeting today after the educator said that the president's death from the coronavirus would be an act of karma. President Trump tested positive for COVID-19 on Thursday evening and received treatment at the Walter Reed Medical Center before returning to the White House yesterday. In one post, Fisher said the president's death would take care of a lot of America's problems and hoped the country would get lucky and he will die. Yeah, that's probably the point where they said, no, we don't want you around here anymore. That's probably what did it right there. Fisher was elected to the board in 2002, 2010, 2014, and 2018, and taught English and journalism. Oh, there's your problem right there. And journalism at several Washington County schools. She wrote, since he has tested positive for COVID-19, maybe the country will get lucky and he will die. Wouldn't that be an act of karma? On a separate post, she said, of course Trump wouldn't wear a mask, and kept posing people. He doesn't give a fig about anybody but himself. He could care less how many Americans die from this virus, even if he's the one who exposed them. I hope he dies from it. That would take care of a lot of America's problems. End quote. Yeah, that's right there. After the post, Fisher told local media that she regretted the post, and her comments were not reflective of the Washington County School Board. Yep, unfortunately, the internet is forever, and you just probably blackballed yourself, both on the school board and your teaching career, which may be over at this point. She may have retired, but yeah, you may be just completely blackballed at this one. Good job using your TDS to get yourself blackballed from the rest of American society. Good job. And this is one of the people that's deciding what Washington County students get for their education. Keep that in mind, voters in Maryland. I'm talking to you, Spart. All right, let's keep going. From CNN, White House press secretary and 2 aides have tested positive for coronavirus, from Betsy Klein. Yeah, I think this is just about dead on batteries. This mouse sucks, by the way. Don't buy one. I don't even know what brand it is, but it was on Amazon. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany has tested positive for COVID-19. She tweeted in a statement Monday morning, McEnany has emphasized that she had previously tested negative consistently and is experiencing no symptoms. McEnany is the latest White House staffer to test positive for the virus, adding to questions about how widespread the West Point outbreak will become. McEnany's diagnosis is a stark reminder that the administration has flouted science and the best practices before. Jesus fucking Christ, you're going to throw your editorial opinion in a fact-based news story. This is not news. This is an opinion piece. But it's marked as news because it's CNN. Facts first, apparently. Before and even after the president tested positive, she continued to publicly shirk mask usage in the days since the president and other staffers and outside advisors also tested positive for the virus. She was scheduled to appear on Fox News on Monday morning, but the appearance was canceled. No shit, Sherlock. The press secretary later shared she was positive for the virus. Two of McEnany's deputies, Chad Gilmartin and Carolyn Levitt, have also tested positive for the coronavirus, two sources told CNN Monday afternoon. The White House press staff are working remotely, an official said, but some essential workers are still at the White House. McEnany wrote Monday that she will begin the quarantine process, meaning that she will isolate. Speaking with Fox News' Sean Hannity on Monday evening, McEnany said that she is feeling great and very blessed to have no symptoms. She praised Trump's maskless photo op on the White House balcony on Monday as a really nice moment. When the White House was doing contact tracing in the aftermath of top Trump advisor Hope Hicks's diagnosis, McEnany was told she had been in close contact of Hicks and was pulled off the president's fundraising trip to New Jersey. She wasn't told until later that afternoon that Hicks has tested positive, reaffirming in her statement Monday that she definitively had no knowledge of that prior to the briefing. McEnany said that she had tested negative every day since Thursday. She did not, however, take any steps to isolate herself, given her known close contact with Hicks. And yes, that would have probably been another panic trip for the news media out there. Oh, well, she's not showing up for the press briefings. We're not having press briefings. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. You know, this is why I don't use CNN hardly ever on the show, because they have news out there. But for the most part, they still steep it in their op-ed slime. And Fox is no better. I'm not going to come out here and pretend that they're any better. Daily Wire is no better anyway, but MSNBC, Daily Wire, and Fox, and The Blaze are all open about which way they swing. CNN has tried to paint themselves as this arbiter of just definitive news, that they're completely objective, that there's no bias at CNN. That we're the fairest, we're the most balanced, we're exactly right down the center. And then they put bullshit like this article up and call it a news article instead of an op-ed. Now, if they'd marked this as an op-ed, I would not have had a single problem with this sentence right here. McEnany's diagnosis is a stark reminder that the administration has flouted science and the best practices before, and even after the president tested positive. I would have had no problem with that if this was an op-ed. Now, I wouldn't have read it either, but I would have had no problem with that if they'd have marked this as an op-ed. But we are the fairest and most balanced. We have no bias whatsoever, folks. Trust us. All right, let's keep going here. From The Blaze, who is very open about which way they swing for, by the way. Kirsty Alley trounces CNN reporter over the president's return to the White House. You hate him, just report that. Yeah, Kirsty Alley got based. I didn't even know she was still alive. I remember that she was in like every 90s movie with the Olsen twins and several others. I was just a little bit too young for Cheers, even though I know that she was there as well. I was just a touch too young for Cheers. I remember that she was in every 90s movie with the Olsen twins, like I mentioned. Then she gained a bunch of weight, and then it became Fat Actress all of a sudden. And you didn't hear from her for a while, and now she's a pro-Trump celebrity, so now you hear from her every 10 seconds. I follow her on Twitter. From Carlos Garcia, though, actress Kirstie Alley trampled on criticism from a CNN reporter being leveled against the president over his actions after returning to the White House from the Walter Reed Medical Center. President Trump took off his mask before the cameras after arriving at the White House. Some of the media and many of his critics pounced on the moment rather, to accuse him of being irresponsible. Only days into his diagnosis, the first thing President Trump does when he gets back to the White House is take his mask off, CNN's Caitlin Collins said. Alley ripped into Collins with an expletive-ridden response. What would you like him to do? Start crying like a little bitch so he can report that he's crying like a little bitch? He could have had a hazmat suit on, and he would report he's a fucking lunatic in a hazmat suit, Alley said. And there is the tweet, complete with the expletives, which I have no problem reading up on the air, and that's why I don't join news sites like The Blaze. You hate him, just report that, Alley concluded. Collins has been accused of being a faker by the president himself in a previous kerfuffle. That's the word of the day. Kerfuffle. Throw those stickers up every time you hear the word kerfuffle. Where the reporter had been caught pulling off her mask when she thought the cameras were off, and after she had criticized the administration for the same offense, she tweeted later that she had only taken off her mask for 6 seconds. Alley had also criticized the Democrats in an earlier tweet that mocked them for spending all of their time trying to take down Trump. The truth is, Dems have accomplished nothing for the last 3.5 years other than devising ways to take Trump down, she tweeted. No, that's not true. They also spent $4 trillion of your money on the CARES Act and the Paycheck Protection Program that was rife with fraud from the start. Don't forget, they also did that. You have been a waste of our tax dollars, time, and fate. Even with your attempts to destroy him, you failed, she added. After the president made an appearance outside the White House, he tweeted a video from his social media account encouraging Americans to not be afraid of the coronavirus, which we watched a little bit earlier. So, yes, thank you, Kirsty Alley, for that rousing explanation of what's actually happening in the world. Let's keep going. From Fox News, NBC Town Hall panned as Biden infomercial, undecided voters didn't seem so undecided. From Joseph A. Wolfson, NBC's Town Hall featuring Joe Biden did not receive the warmest reception on Monday night. I didn't even know there was one going on. That's weird. The outdoor event, televised, which aired on both NBC and MSNBC, took place in the swing state of Florida. Dude, as progressive as the left has gone at this point, I might be wrong in saying this, but I don't think Florida is a swing state right now. Pull the progressives out of the party and maybe, but with all the Cuban expats in Florida, I don't think it's as much of a swing state as you think it is right now. And moderator Lester Holt told viewers that all of Miami attendees were undecided voters. Yeah, I'm sure. It's just like what we were just saying with CNN. NBC, the base NBC News, tries to come out, well, we're objective. We're the arbiters of truth. We don't make partisan politics. We are just objective. And in reality, they're just as biased as their MS counterpart. Holt kicked off the town hall by asking him to react to President Trump's departure from Walter Reed Medical Center and grilled him by asking if he was surprised by Trump's coronavirus diagnosis, if he thought the president's medical team were forthcoming with information about his condition, and whether he trusts their assessment, if he had a moment of pause, of worry, when he first heard about the diagnosis following the first presidential debate, if he would pledge to transparency as president regarding his own potential health issues, and if he believes Trump bears responsibility for contracting the coronavirus. Then the undecided voters were able to speak to the former vice president one-on-one. Of the roughly 11 voters who were able to ask questions, one was described as leaning towards Biden. No way! One was described as a registered Republican that was also leaning towards Biden. No way! One was described as a former registered Republican who voted for Hillary Clinton. You don't say. And the other one voted for Clinton in 2016, but he too, according to Holt, voted for Republicans in the past. None of the attendees were described as Trump voter or leaning towards voting for the incumbent president. Well, first off, after everything that you have said about Trump voters for the last 3.5 years, 4 years, NBC, I would not be surprised if you reached out to actual Trump voters and they told you to get fucked. I was a Trump voter, let me rephrase that. I'm not intending to vote for Trump. And if you asked me to go attend a town hall with Biden, knowing what it is you'd probably say about me on the news, if something got clipped out of this, I would tell you to get fucked too. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. I don't need that. I don't need hours and hours of smear pieces on MSNBC in my life. I'm going to get them anyway at some point. Especially if you guys grow me up to 2,000 followers and I run for president. Oh boy. Are you guys ever going to come out and smear me for hours and hours? I don't need it for a town hall when I want to ask a question to somebody who I won't vote for anyway and I know isn't going to be the president to begin with. No! But that's what we see from the town hall for so far. I didn't even know it was there, so I'm actually going to look into that a little bit today and see if we can do some reporting on what happened with that. That's surprising. That one completely missed me. All right, I got another one here from the Daily Wire. Biden, police supported me up until this year. They need sensitivity training. Oh boy. Maybe wouldn't lead with that if it was me. Maybe wouldn't lead with that one. That sounds like a media kerfuffle that's just waiting to happen, but they're still going to sit back and run cover for this asshole. This is from Daily Wire News. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden appeared to suggest during an MSNBC Town Hall event on Monday night that he no longer had the support of law enforcement agencies, who he also said needed sensitivity training. Biden was asked by a woman who described herself as a mother of police officer and a wife of a retired police officer to address the troubling movement to defund the police and how his policies would promote the safety of officers and communities. Biden dodged the question of safety, but pointed out that cops had supported him in the past, the Washington Free Beacon reported. Well, I mean, there is a level of blanket Democrat support that comes from unions, and the police are in a public sector union. But the potential administration and, frankly, the entire Democrat Party has done nothing but run the police into the ground for the last year. ACAB painted everywhere by people who are likely going to vote for Democrats and who likely want a certain agenda out of Democrats. And you wonder why you don't have the support of these people right now. I've had overwhelming support from the police my whole career, up until this year, Biden told the woman. Oh, let's listen. Fuck it, if we get struck by MSNBC, we still got D-Live.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President.
Hang on, I gotta turn your ears. No, I do have your ears on, don't I? Ha. I didn't turn them back off. Good thing we didn't have any autoplay go.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President. As a mother of a police officer and the wife of a retired police officer, served 28 years, the term defunding the police is of concern and troubling. I understand that police departments do need reform. We need to serve and protect safely and properly. With that being said, I would like to know what you and your administration's policies in reforming the police, how those will come about, how they will be best handled to ensure police officer safety and the public's and the citizens' safety as well.
I grew up in a neighborhood where the guys I grew up in my working class neighborhood either became cops, firefighters, or priests. I wasn't qualified to be any one of them. I have had overwhelming support from police my whole career up until this year, as your husband will tell you.
Dude just looks completely confused. I don't know about you, but he looks completely confused by this. And yeah, that's a distinct possibility that with the police unions in place and certain GOP Congress people and local officials and their objections to police unions, I am not surprised that a person who ran as a Democrat for his entire 47-year career where he did absolutely nothing in the Senate, had law enforcement backing. I am not surprised by that in the least. That doesn't surprise me at all. But at this point, with what the left-leaning party in this country turned to throughout the year, I'm also not surprised if he doesn't have it anymore. Absolutely not. President Trump grilled Biden during the presidential debate over the lack of support that he has received from law enforcement groups, saying he doesn't have any law support. He has no law enforcement. Which, I mean, the president is supposed to be the chief law enforcement executive of the country. He's not supposed to make laws or EOs, and they're not supposed to make laws from the bench over on the Supreme Court. The president is supposed to execute the laws that the Congress puts out. And since we've, for whatever reason, bastardized the federal government's role in our lives to actually making laws that directly affect us, the people, then yes, Biden would have to, if he stepped into the role of president, enforce the laws and be a law enforcement officer. But no, we've had people like Kamala Harris setting up the Minnesota Freedom Fund, which I'm sure that as an executive, I'm sure she's going to pick up a bunch of these people and put them right back in prison at that point, but she can do that once she's the president. Or, yeah, I didn't slip of the tongue. So all of law enforcement for this, just, it bothers the hell out of me. Everything that we're seeing from this, just law enforcement in general. And the fact that, in spite of the fact that we don't need any more laws and order coming out of the federal government, that's not going to be an opinion that's shared by most of your voters across this country, who are possibly going to come out and vote for Trump just on the fact that he says law and order. Because, like I said, we don't need any more laws. We don't need the drug laws. We need to repeal a bunch of laws. But your average voter in this country right now doesn't think that way. And that is going to weigh heavy on the election that's coming up. Let's keep going. The live chat back up here. There we go. From Fox News, Biden suggests people were able to quarantine because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf in a viral clip. Oh, I hope they have video of this. Yes, they do. We're going to get to listen to this. So this is from Joseph A. Wolf's Own. Joe Biden has landed in hot water over a viral clip of him suggesting why people were able to quarantine during the coronavirus pandemic. They're saying, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf, Biden is heard saying in the clip. The 10-second clip, which was originally shared on September 29th, was just a snippet of comments the Democratic nominee made during the September 15th roundtable with veterans in Tampa, Florida. In the expanded remarks, Biden has expressed a positive tone in dealing with the problems the country faces, particularly the ones that stem from the coronavirus outbreak. He said that he's more optimistic than I've ever been in my whole career. Let's just listen to this. This is too dumb not to hear. This is too fucking stupid not to hear. Alright, ears back on.
You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
Let's hear that one more time.
You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
One more? Can I get away with one more? Yeah, let's do one more.
You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
He just says stupid shit over and over again, and they want this guy to be the president. And the champion for black people, too, apparently, because, I mean, if you remember, that's the reason he's sitting there right now saying stupid shit through a mask into a microphone. is because he had the overwhelming support against Bernie Sanders in South Carolina. And then, of course, everybody just who actually had decent ideas just dropped out in succession right before that. Let's do this one more time.
You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
All right, that's enough of that. You heard it here, folks. Let's keep going. From the New York Post, Pence and Harris will be separated by plexiglass at Utah VP debate from Ebony Bowden. Which, by the way, I could probably announce at this point here that John texted me while I was on the Red Net show last night, and it appears that they are not going to be able to transmit at their normal time tomorrow, so he approached me and asked me if I would stream the vice presidential debate with him, and I said, yes, I will. So join the two of us, and I'm going to see if I can grab another couple of guests so we can sit down and watch the presidential debate or vice presidential debate together and scream about it at the TV. That will be, by the way, a D-Live exclusive. Did I close that? Let's listen to that one more time.
My home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
Oh, that doesn't get old. Washington, Vice President Mike Pence and opponent Kamala Harris will duke it out between a sheet of plexiglass and 13 feet of social distancing at their first and only debate in Utah on Wednesday. The last-minute changes were approved by the Commission on Presidential Debates amid mounting concerns of COVID-19 after President Trump and at least a dozen associates and White House staffers contracted the virus. Politico reported, while Pence has not tested positive for COVID-19, critics of the administration called for the Utah showdown to be delayed out of fear that the Veep could unwittingly carry the virus. The debate will go ahead as planned, but under lobbying for the Biden-Harris campaign, the candidates will now sit 13 feet apart instead of the original planned 7 feet. Oh Jesus. I mean, that when you see these people, they're sitting 13, 15, 20, 30 feet apart and doing the interview. We saw this back in the beginning of all this bullshit. When Joe Biden sat down, I think he was in Lake Geneva at the time. I think he was in Wisconsin. No, he was in New York for that one. But he sat down with the, I think it was the CNN dude. I think it was Tapper. And they were like 25 feet apart and having the conversation. Both of them were masked and they were sitting outside. According to the Politico report, Pence's campaign opposed the decision to install plexiglass, a safety measure that doesn't do jack shit, that was missing from Trump's chaotic showdown with Joe Biden in Cleveland last week. President Trump instructed Pence to head to Utah for the first debate with Harris as the White House was confronting a growing coronavirus outbreak. He told me to head to Utah. We're looking very much forward to the vice presidential debate, Pence told reporters on Monday afternoon before boarding Air Force Two for a flight to Salt Lake City. Pence said the instructions came from Trump over a phone call from Walter Reed National Medical Center, where he will be discharged on Monday evening following a 3-night stay. So yes, that's going to be going off. We are going to be live streaming that. That is going to be a D-Live exclusive, because Wojcicki will shut that shit down on YouTube instantly if they find out I'm streaming it over there. And I like streaming on YouTube. So I don't want to have the, 30-day inability to stream on YouTube. I don't want that strike. So that's how we're going to do that. So come and check that out tomorrow night. All right, let's keep going. The live chat back up here. Can we do this one more time? Yeah, let's do this one more time.
You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
All right, let's keep going. From ABC 8 News out of Richmond, Virginia, mail collection boxes tampered with at 6 USPS locations across central Virginia. Several mailbox collection boxes across central Virginia have been tampered with, a USPS investigation revealed. According to U.S. Postal Inspector Mike Romano, a USPS received several calls from post offices that had their mailboxes broken into. The following post offices were affected: in Henrico, 4990 Sadler Place, 2000 Starling Drive, 2100 East Parham Road. In Chesterfield, 7510 Lady Blair Lane, 1201 Sycamore Square Drive. And in Richmond, 805 Glen Burnie Road. I don't have live chat up. Romano adds that stealing mail is a federal offense and punishable by law. The penalty for stealing mail is up to 5 years in federal prison. According to Romano, investigators are still working to figure out who committed the thefts and if any of the incidents are election related. We don't have any information whether the boxes contained any sort of election mail, Romano added. 8 News spoke with a couple of USPS customers outside the post office. They said if someone was trying to steal or tamper with mail-in ballots, that is a big problem. No shit, Sherlock. No shit. But don't worry, everybody. It's totally secure, and we're not going to have any issues with this whatsoever. Safe and secure. Just vote by mail, and don't ask questions. 8 News spoke with a couple of USPS customers outside the post office. They said if someone was trying to steal or tamper with mail-in ballots, that is a big problem. This is clearly a voter suppression technique, said Marianne Pugh. That may not be their motive, but it certainly was the first thing that came to my mind. Yeah, in this election season, I'm not surprised. That would be a huge concern if that's what it turns out to be, another customer added. I prefer to actually go and vote in person versus a mail-in or absentee ballot, said Dennis Wells. If it turns out that they're trying to steal mail-in ballots, that's going to be a concern. None of the customers mailed their ballots and preferred to vote in person. So, yep, it's happening. It's happening. Just like a lot of people said it would. I'm not opposed to going to a full mail-in system. But not one that was designed in 4 months. I'm actually, if we went to a full mail-in system and we went through, we did the tests, we took, I don't know, a year, 2 years, maybe 4 years to get it right, get it perfected, and figure it out to go, I would be amiable to the idea. I may or may not agree, but I would at least be amiable to listen to it. But we're trying to figure this out in 4 months. So, yes, it's happening in Virginia. All right. From 19 News, Ohio Secretary of State rules that counties can set up multiple ballot collection boxes at a single site. The Secretary of State for Ohio, this is from Chris Anderson, by the way. The Secretary of State for Ohio has issued an order on Monday that will allow counties to establish numerous ballot drop boxes as long as the collections occur at the same site. According to Secretary of State Frank LaRose, each of Ohio's 88 county board elections are permitted to install more than one drop box or drive-through location for the return of absentee ballots at the board's headquarters. The Board of Elections can staff bipartisan officials at each collection box, while absentee ballots are accepted. Absentee ballots will be accepted 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, at the secure receptacles outside of the Board of Elections headquarters as required under LaRose's directives. Tomorrow, absentee ballots will begin being mailed out to over 2 million Ohioans who requested them, and voting starts at 88 early voting locations across the state in what will be the most accessible election in state history, said LaRose, despite predictable partisan politics that attempt to create phony crises. You know, like mailboxes being broken into in fucking Virginia. Whoops. Well, I just unplugged my tablet. That's nice. Monitor. We have kept our eye on the ball, and Ohio's election officials are ready to administer a safe, secure, and accurate election. This is a professional show, folks. The decision may very well be the first one that carries into the election, but it will not be the final word on a matter, according to local attorney Rob Zimmerman, who is an election law specialist. The Secretary of State is right to the extent that it is the necessity for clarification of the law about this question and about the number of boxes and the locations, and that should be cleared up after the election, Zimmerman said. But until, we're going to have a certain level of uncertainty until we get some finality from the courts. You know, I don't necessarily see a problem with this unless they're partisan marked, separate boxes. Then I would have a problem with this. But, I mean, and I don't know how Ohio runs their elections either. I know in West Virginia they have the political party marked on the outside of the envelope, which I don't understand and just seems rife for open for fraud. But, I mean, as long as the ballot is private for the drop-off, you're going to be getting a bunch of volume for this. So actually having multiple drop boxes is probably not the worst thing in the world. So I don't understand what the issue with this is. I'm sure that we'll see more of this as we go along. So something to pay attention to, definitely. But we will see from this one. But yes, if we're going to be having so much volume off of this, it might behoove them to have more than one drop box. All right, next one here from Fox. Tax hikes in November, or on November ballot rather, in many states amid coronavirus economic fallout. Residents in states like California and Illinois will be asked to approve measures that may lead to higher rates, from Brittany D'Elia. Residents in many states heading to the polls this November will be asked to approve ballot measures that could result in tax increases on residents and businesses. Oh boy, I kind of want to see an Illinois ballot just to see what kind of cushy language they put on this. Because if you ever notice that, they put terrible, awful ideas on ballot initiatives, but they bury it in cushy language. And I have to get back to my friend on this, but one of my friends actually asked me what to do about independent repair shops, and I've not got back to her, and I really need to at this point. But there's a law circulating in Massachusetts right now where in order to sell a car in Massachusetts, your proprietary software has to be open source so that an independent repair shop can work on it. And I don't agree with that, because the government doesn't need to come down and tell a manufacturer what they can do with their individual proprietary software. That's not the government's job. And I'm telling you right now, if you lock your stuff down to the point that you can't touch it, people don't like to buy those vehicles, especially passenger cars. With heavy trucks, it's a little bit different because I don't know why it's a little bit different, but with heavy trucks, it's a little bit different. But on passenger cars, people don't want to take their Fusion to the Ford dealer when it's 20 years old and has 350,000 miles on it. They want to take it to the little mom and pop shop and try and figure out why their radio isn't working with the proprietary software. And with this ballot initiative, that would be forced on the Ford Motor Company to do so. But the market will change that, because if they throw so much proprietary software in a car that you can't take it to an independent shop, people just aren't going to buy the damn car. I would not buy a truck that I would have to take to Ford for every single thing. I'm telling you that right now. I wouldn't buy it. Even if it did say Ford on the front of it, I would tell Ford to shove that thing up their ass and go buy an 01 again and put a new engine in it for probably a lot less money than what I'd pay for one that was full of proprietary software. No, that's not going to happen. All right. Anyway, let's look at some of the tax-related ballot initiatives. In Illinois, voters will be asked to approve a constitutional amendment that would allow for a progressive income tax bracket system. As it stands, the state's constitution calls for a flat tax rate, which currently sits at 4.95%. Lower income individuals will pay rates between 4.75 and 4.9%, with those incomes between $100,000 and $250,000. Yeah, I'm sure Illinois has been trying to get rid of a flat tax for a while, so this is no surprise. But they get pretty aggressive on this too, up to 8% for people making over $1 million, and almost 8% for $500,000. Also almost 8% for $250,000. So, Colorado residents will decide whether to repeal the Gallagher Amendment, which was introduced as a way to limit residential property taxes. So, yeah, they're trying to pull in taxes. California is just saying, give me all your money. Alaska, probably, well, they want to tax their oil companies, so, I mean, that's big money to go along with that. So, yeah, they're just trying to get more and more taxes up off of this. And a lot of these economies were devastated by the coronavirus and or draconian politicians who took advantage of the coronavirus to try and get a certain election result at the federal level. All right, let's keep going. Just got a few more here. We're going to run a little bit long today, I think. Yeah, because we're already over the hour mark. Bernie Sanders says he's prepared to be in charge of health care if Dems take the Senate, from Emily Zanotti. Senator Bernie Sanders will likely be rewarded for his allegiance if the Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden wins the November election, and he has his sights set on the Health Care Committee chairmanship, he told a rally over the weekend. Speaking to a crowd of Democrats, Sanders, who is the primary champion of Medicare for All style health care, told the crowd that if the Democrats take back the Senate, he'll be the chairman of the Senate Subcommittee on Health. Keep that in mind as you go to the ballot box. This guy's plan is what he's going to try and jam through the Senate after they end the filibuster. If Democrats gain control of the Senate, you're looking at the chairman of the subcommittee on health, he said to Cheers. Sanders is already a ranking member of the U.S. Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Think about that one for a second. Which, according to his page on the Senate's website, generally considers matters relating to these issues. Its jurisdiction extends beyond these issues to include several more specific areas as defined by Senate rules. He also serves as the ranking Democrat on the subcommittee that handles health and retirement, which he needs to be doing at some point here, because he's 80 years old. Unfortunately for Sanders, Republican control of the Senate means his power in the area of healthcare is limited. But with Democrats anticipating a blue wave in November, just like they did 2 years ago, that could change quickly, and Biden is likely to reward the progressive, who came in a distant second in the race for the 2020 Democratic nomination. That was not a distant second, folks. A prime position, as well as a status as a senior administration advisor for his role in bringing progressives on board with Biden's more moderate campaign. Yeah, he's being sold the vote to try and get the voters, is what he's doing. This is a campaign technique for Biden. So, that's what we're seeing from that one. Keep that in mind as you go to the ballot box. From Fox News, Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearing to begin October 12th as Senate ramps up COVID precautions. From Brooke Singman. The Senate Judiciary Committee on Monday formally scheduled the confirmation hearings for President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, saying that the proceedings will begin on Monday, October 12th. Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham announced the formal hearing on Barrett's nomination, which is set to begin on Monday, October 12th, on Capitol Hill and will last through Thursday, October 15th. Graham's announcement came hours ahead of the president's discharge from Walter Reed National Medical Military Center on Monday. The president was admitted on Friday after testing positive for the novel coronavirus. The president is continuing to fight COVID-19, but will resume his treatments from the White House, his medical team said on Monday. Fox News previously reported that Senate Republicans hope to begin the hearings on October 12th, but Graham made the scheduling official on Monday. A committee aide told Fox News Monday that staff is working with the architect of the Capitol, Office of the Attending Physician, the Senate Sergeant at Arms, the Capitol Police, and the Rules Committee to ensure the nomination hearing for Judge Barrett is conducted safely and in accordance with public health recommendations. So they're doing it. We were hoping, well, they were hoping, the Democrats were hoping that this was going to end and derail Coney Barrett's confirmation hearings, but nope, they're doing it. They got the mandate, and they're going to try and figure out how to do it at any cost whatsoever. And good. Because you know that, well, first off, you know that if Democrats were in power in the Senate and Hillary had the White House, we wouldn't have heard of the coronavirus, and if we had, it would have faded into memory as quickly as it came in. But even if the news media had reported the same way, and this was the panic and the plague to end all panic and plagues, that we would be sitting here with Chuck Schumer trying to do the same thing. So, definitely something to look at with that one, and we will be looking forward to seeing those hearings. I'm actually looking forward to listening to them. From the Daily Wire, Dems praised for virtual hearings, or press rather. Dems pressed for virtual hearings suddenly change minds when GOP suggests SCOTUS confirmation be done online. From Emily Zanotti. Democratic leadership suddenly changed its mind on holding virtual congressional sessions Monday after Republican leaders suggested that Judge Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court nomination hearings be held online. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer told media Monday that he and the other Democrats plan to use every tool in the toolbox to delay Barrett's confirmation and will not agree to hold virtual sessions of the Senate Judiciary Committee, even though Democratic leaders in the House pressed for removing voting and virtual congressional meetups back in March, amid concerns about the spread of the novel coronavirus. The idea of having virtual hearings where no one is with the witness for the highest court in the land for a life appointment, that would have been such an effect on people's lives makes no sense. A virtual hearing is virtually no hearing at all, Schumer said in a statement. Speaking Monday, Schumer added that it is not safe for hearings to go forward because at least 2 Republican members of the Senate Judiciary Committee who attended Barrett's nomination ceremony last week have since tested positive for COVID-19, though neither reports showing symptoms of infection. I mean, they did the Comey hearing virtually. What's the problem here? Except for the fact that they want to get a certain political outcome. So, I mean, they're just showing their colors at this point. And once again, we're going to pack the court. We're going to end the filibuster. We are going to do everything we can to make sure that we stay in power for a glorious 1,000-year Fourth Reich in this country, is what I am hearing from people like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. So, keep that in mind once again in a couple weeks when you go to that ballot box. I still on the fence of holding my nose and voting for Trump and Republicans just to make sure that these people never see power again. Just because they're not even hiding the ball. All right, 3 more. Motorist pulls gun on Black Lives Matter protesters attacking his truck. They were blocking the road, and he tossed a smoke grenade at them, cops say. The motorist was charged. From David Urbanski, a motorist who was caught on video pulling a gun on protesters in downtown Savannah over the weekend, was charged with aggravated assault, WSAV-TV reported. Police told the station a few dozen protesters, angry about the Breonna Taylor case, were lying down in an intersection and blocking traffic around 5:30 p.m. Saturday. Newsweek described them as Black Lives Matter protesters engaged in a peaceful demonstration. Okay, that's really, really stupid, but it's peaceful. Videos show a dark pickup appearing to begin driving around the protesters. Once again, no problem there. And then police told WSAV the driver tossed a smoke grenade at the group. The protesters immediately got up and began to scatter, but seconds later, a few of them began kicking and throwing objects at the truck. At that point, police told the station that 34-year-old Frederick James opened the driver's side door, armed with a gun, and pointed it at the protesters. All of the remaining protesters, except for one, ran away. We get a little bit of cell phone video that went along with this. You can see the dude's wife. Get back in the truck, you asshole. You can see it. You can't hear it, but you can see it. And, I hate to say it because the protesters have been so insufferable throughout this entire thing. But the dude was right to be charged on this one because he was the aggressor in this particular situation. Everything was peaceful and fine until they threw the smoke ball at these guys. The dude is the aggressor in this situation. In most situations that we see like this, it is an act of defense, pulling a firearm and brandishing and something like that. That's an act of defense. But after driving around, if he hadn't thrown the smoke ball and they still had gotten up and started kicking and beating the shit out of his truck, I would be singing a very, very different tune about this. But because he threw the smoke ball, he's the aggressor in this situation. They were exercising their rights to peacefully protest. He threw the smoke ball and impeded their right to peacefully protest. If he'd just continued driving around, this would have been a very, very different story. But unfortunately for this guy, they're in the right to arrest him at this one. He aggressed in this particular instance. All right, let's see what else do we have here. Toddler killed toddler killed in his mother's arms during carjacking in Texas, from Elizabeth Rosner. This is... Oh, I read the author already. I thought this was the Blaze and the author was going to be down here. A baby boy was killed in his mother's arms during a carjacking in Texas over the weekend. Zayden McLean, who would have turned 2 years old next month, died when a man tried to steal his mother's car and ran into both of them before driving away. Say his name. Say his name. You want to bet that they're not going to say any name about this one? Like they would if this was anything else. Any other situation that we would see around this country. Bailey Bingham, Zayden's mom, met the boy's dad, Shay McLean, in the parking lot of the Texas Health Hugo Lee Hospital, reported the Dallas Morning News, to exchange custody. The alleged suspect, Nico Lorenzo De La Fuente, ambushed the couple and attempted to steal the mother's car. Zayden's father jumped inside the car and tried to stop the thief from driving away as the car was in reverse. Fort Worth police officer Gezim Polazani told Fox 4 News that Bingham was holding Zayden in her arms as the vehicle was reversing and it struck the parent and the child, causing both the parent and the child to fall. The suspect then put the vehicle in drive and ran over the child and crashed into a tree, Polazani said. Zayden was rushed to Cook Children's Medical Center in Fort Worth, where he died later from his injuries. His mother, who was also hospitalized, suffered from a skull fractures, bleeding on the brain, and road rash, but is expected to recover. I hope this dude gets the chair. It's different if you carjack an adult who's able to defend himself. But a 1-year-old over somebody else's car on top of this. People disgust me. And of course, CNN didn't say a word about this. Fox didn't say a word about this. It appears that the baby is half black, too. So yeah, Fox didn't say a word about this. MSNBC didn't say a word about this. NBC, CNN, nobody else said a word about this. The New York Post said something about this. And that was it. But yet, if it's a member of the state involved in somebody who was genuinely the aggressor in most situations, this would be wall-to-wall news coverage. All right, last one here, then we'll do Twitter trending and head on out of here. And this is just ridiculously stupid. Dreyer's announces a new name for derogatory Eskimo pie months after pausing production. From Alexandra Dabler over at Fox Business. After more than 100 years, Dreyer's is changing its popular Eskimo pie ice cream bar to Eddie's Pie. The new name was announced by the brand on Monday. The new name was a long time coming. Back in June, the company stated its intention to rename the derogatory product name. That's right. Eskimo pie is derogatory. King Arthur Flour changes name, logo, and rebrand. Yeah, that's going to be changing too. We are committed to being a part of the solution on racial equality and recognize the term is derogatory, said Elizabeth Marquez, head of marketing for its parent, Dreyer's Grand Ice Cream, the U.S. subsidiary for Froneri, in a statement to Fox Business in June. This move is part of a larger review to ensure our company and brands reflect our people and values. Since then, Dreyer's has paused production of the ice cream bars while coming up with a new branding and packaging for the treat. After months of discussion, the brand decided on Edie's Pie, named after one of the company's founders, Joseph Edie. The chocolate-coated ice cream bar will be available under its new name early next year, according to the company. We anticipate Edie's Pie ice cream bars to be on the shelf in early 2021. Our mission at Dreyer's Ice Cream is to bring joy to everyday life with ice cream, and we look forward to our Edie's Pie ice cream bars continuing to do just that, Marquez said in a statement to Fox News. And that's just it. They're changing everything right now. I don't know what is derogatory about Eskimo. Can somebody explain that to me? But yes, they are going to a new name, and I anticipate that I will not be buying Breyers anytime soon because, like with Burger King and like with the NFL, when I am going for entertainment or an ice cream bar, even though I'm not eating ice cream bars right now, but when I'm going for something like that, I don't want a political lecture. And I'm not going to give money to companies that give me a political lecture. So, yeah, something to watch for. No more Eskimo pies, people. All right, and that's going to be it for the day. Last thing we do on Tuesday is read the Twitter trending, so let's do a refresh on this. See what is trending now versus when we went and looked up Jennifer Rubin. So, starting off, we've got National Coaches Day is trending today. Today is apparently National Coaches Day. Yes, in 1972, President Nixon declares October 6th as National Coaches Day. Coaches are qualified teachers in highly specialized fields. So, give a high five to your coach if he's not afraid of the coronavirus. All right, next one here. Tommy. This will always be interesting. Women like Tony McLaren bully boys into not expressing emotion or even loving themselves enough to take care of their health. Women like Laren laugh at men if they cry. There's no other word for it, but it's sadism. Apparently, Tommy Laren said, might as well carry a purse with that mask, Joe. You know, I can't really see something wrong with that because I've seen a lot of you guys over in the live chat say some of the same things. And I'm sorry, I think it's fucking funny. I don't even know what this tweet is supposed to mean. Tommy Laren carries purses. Is she calling herself weak? Is anyone who carries a bag a pussy? Real men hold that shit at the grocery store until it tumbles out of their arms ruggedly. Eggs everywhere. It was probably an ill-timed tweet. But the sensitivity to it just plays right into why it needed to be said. Brian Dawson says Tommy Laird is an ignorant, murderous, genocidal, false propagandist, anti-Christ, anti-American fuck like her dear leader. Brian Dawson, why don't you tell us how you really feel? You're going to see me tweet live. Sorry, I had to. All right, let's go to another one here. Claudia. So we're doing stuff with Claudia Conway once again. Children need to be out of the public eye. Claudia Conway is a 16-year-old girl, pretty outrageous that Twitter and other news sources are using her as a source of credible information. Yeah, dude, you need to stop with the Claudia stuff. Yes, I know that she's putting herself out there, but the other side of this is the fact that children should be off limits. And honestly, Kellyanne needs to step in and be a parent as well. I didn't enjoy it. Be parents. Hurricane Delta. We have a hurricane coming in as a category storm. Heading in, looks like it's heading in towards Florida. Nope, they're heading in towards Louisiana, so it came in through the Gulf of Mexico. And it is at category 2, so we'll be watching that one as we go along. But hurricanes have been relatively mild this year, apparently. All right, how are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do one more. Andrea Ghez. Andrea Ghez became the 4th woman to win the Nobel Prize in Physics alongside 2 other scientists for her discoveries about black holes. So, yeah, good on Andrea Ghez for winning the Nobel Prize. Absolutely, that is good news. Absolutely. I'd love to sit down, and I'm kind of a space nerd myself, so I'd love to sit down and read her research and see what she's winning it for. But yeah, making history, becoming the 4th woman ever to get the Nobel Prize in Physics. Absolutely, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Because there are so few women that go into STEM. And for one of them to come up and win the Nobel Prize, that's good on her. Absolutely. All right, that's going to be it for the day here. We will be back here tomorrow with more contemporary because the news is going to keep going. I'm going to see if I can find some more news on this Nobel Prize laureate because that's an interesting one. We'll do, I don't know if that'll fit onto something that I'm thankful for tomorrow because that's what we do. But also join John and myself tomorrow night for live coverage of the vice presidential debate. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try and get a couple more people to come and hang out with us for that. So looking forward to seeing you there and coming and hanging out. And once again, don't forget to come in on Friday where I will be going and picking up all of your names off the live chat for the entire week and reading them back to you so I can thank you for coming and joining me throughout the week. But for sure, come back and join me tomorrow for more contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.